Right, weekend Scraft incoming. It's Romanticide. It's Seli versus Smarticus. This is the first round 2 match that I've been sent. So obviously the standard here is going to be mighty high. Both of these players having survived the round robin stage. Seli, Terran in the top left, Smarticus, Protoss. Oh, what is this guy doing? Protoss in the bottom right. Yeah, I don't know about the timing on that chrono. That's a bit miserable, isn't it? Especially if the workers aren't mining. Oh no! How has he done that? You know, at the start of the game, your Nexus is automatically rallied onto the mineral patches. Right here, we can see the timing on that. What is actually happening here, Smarticus? How did you get through the round robin stage? It's a double gas opening, but he hasn't dropped a pylon yet. This is what is this? What the right? I'm beginning to suspect some sort of error has occurred here, or at the very least, this is going to be a pretty short game. Oh, now the pylon goes down. Now that you've been supply blocked for a minute. I mean, I'm sure why get the worker? Yeah, two pylons. Don't worry about him mining again. Yeah, it's not like you're going to need the minerals. So here we are, 1 minute and 20 in, and Smarticus has fewer workers mining minerals than he started the game with by a reasonable margin. 3 pylons building, all in the same location, not even spread out. Workers somehow not even being rallied onto the mineral patches, just parked here. It's an absolute shambles, is what this is. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, there's a Reaper in production. You know, the Reaper's going to come out and essentially just win the game on his own, because look, there's a 4th pylon building in this little cluster. These guys are idle. You know, when the Reaper comes in here, there's absolutely no way that there is anything on the other side of the map other than workers. So if I'm Seli and I see that, I'd be really inclined to just start picking off probes and just build a 2nd Reaper straight away, get it across the map, rally to the 1st, and then a 3rd, a 4th, and just end the game here and now. I don't know what I'm seeing, to be honest. I don't quite understand why Smarticus hasn't built any stuff. Like, so there's a forge in production, there's a gateway in production. You know, the Reaper, surely you see this and you just go, somehow I've accidentally been demoted to bronze, and it's noob day. What on earth? It's supposed to be round 2. Nexus is going to come down. I'd love to see the Reaper go across and check for the Nexus, and seeing that it isn't there, then block the probe. But it hasn't. Yeah. Okay, so Zealots start, and yeah. Side core comes down. The forge for no reason. The workers still not rallied. There's nothing I like about this. Literally nothing. This kind of looks normal, and you know, normal isn't bad. This looks like a pretty reasonable build. The thing I don't like about this is that you've been across the map and seen that it's an absolute shambles in Protoss land. So you don't really need a 3rd. Just go across the map and win. Would be what I would strongly like to see happen here, because you know, ain't no bad Protoss coming for you. The bad man is busy doing I don't know what, just having workers carry minerals long distance from over there. 2 Zealots out, two more kind of in production. Yeah, you know, like even where the Zealots are, how horrible that is. Just keep them standing here. Why would you need them over here? You probably won't. I'd like to see the Reaper come back in, do some scouting. +1 air is being researched, and there is There are 2 Stargates being built, you know, so if Seli's not careful, he could make this difficult for himself. But yeah, these should do a great job. The Hellions are going to come across the map here. He's going to come in, see what he can get done. You know, as I say, I'd love to see the Reaper just go in for another scout so that you know what your Hellions are walking into. But I know what your Hellions are walking into, and it's free kills is what they're walking into. Don't shoot the Nexus though. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a Nexus die to Hellions. Like, shoot the workers. Yeah, he can kite these Zealots and kill them all. You know, like, without too much bother. Just don't let the Zealots catch up with you, and all these Zealots are going to die. I'd like to have seen just go round and round the Nexus so that the splash is also killing the workers. But don't stand still. There's absolutely no need to be losing anything here. In you go. What? Seli, you saw this, I take it. You saw that your opponent only had those 4 Zealots and you've killed them? Why are you going home? What? Get back in there! What is this? Unbelievable play. So the 3rd is done. At least, you know, say what you like about Seli, but you definitely can't call him reactionary. Yeah, he's got a build, he's got a plan, he's got a build order in mind, and he is sticking to it. I am not leaving until I've got 3 siege tanks. Who knows what's going to come out of these Stargates? Phoenix! Yeah, right. Okay, so there's some Stalkers being built, there's some Phoenix being built, that's fine. You know, yeah, why not? Phoenix are great, I like Phoenix. The scan doesn't actually see any of the units, but does see the double Stargate, so I'll be curious to see what the reaction to that is. You know, he has got engineering base, so in general you see a couple of Stargates like that. Your first reaction is a turret in each of your mineral lines, so there you can see a couple of turrets going down there. That should keep them safe. Now obviously large numbers of Phoenix can kind of ignore turrets. They can still get in and get some kills. Does take a bit of micro, but look, these particular Phoenix aren't going to be doing that anytime soon. Void Rays now in production. You know, 2 Phoenix is actually not pointless against Terran. And you will sometimes see a player do that if they think there's going to be medevac drops. 2 Phoenix patrolling around the edges of the map can just snipe the medevacs coming in, and that can be great. 1 Phoenix doesn't quite do it. Phoenix, you know, 1 Phoenix doesn't really do very much damage, so it just takes too long to kill the medevac, to be honest. 2 Phoenix, on the other hand, you can get in there and kill the medevac. This Reaper's going to come in, have a poke. He's probably going to get shot and run away. 3 Void Rays now. So, you know, if Seli's not careful, he's actually going to end up, as I said, making this job quite hard for himself. And with Void Rays coming out, siege tanks are a little bit negated. Because they don't shoot Void Rays, but they will do some good work against the Stalkers. Upgrades wise, there's armor coming up, and there's +1 air as well for the Protoss player. Yeah, so +1 air is actually already done, so it looks like that's air armor and ground armor, sorry. The fleet beacon coming down as well with 2 more Stargates is going to allow our Protoss player to start cranking out Tempests, carriers, whatever they want. But you know, 14 mine in here, 14 mine in here, it's 8 minutes 59. I don't think we're ever going to see that happen. Seli's upgrades, not terrible. 1-1 combat shield and stim, all done. So, you know, at present, that bigger army supply for him should just win him the game. There's no shield batteries in position. I think, yeah, he's got enough Marines here with the Vikings as well to just come in here and kill everything. So, the siege tank's going to siege up, like it. This stuff can come in and start putting some hurt on. As the Protoss responds to this, just pull back into the range of your siege tank so that let the siege tanks go to work on the Stalkers. You don't want to stand and fight out of the range of your own siege tank. So the Void Rays are doing pretty well here. Not much in the way of medevac support. And when the last medevac goes down, actually, Seli's going to have a bit of a problem that the Void Rays are still alive. So Yeah, I don't know. Fighting outside the range of the siege tank sort of does beg a bit of a, why did you have a siege tank with you? Needs to step in really with the stim and focus down those void rays next time, and he should be more than fine. So production wise, over on this side of the map, yeah, we've got a reasonable number of Marines and still more in production. There's Thors coming out, and that'll make a big difference to this army. So a really nice addition. The way that void rays clump together, the Thor splash damage does wonderful work on those, so you can stim your Marines in underneath and just wreck fists. If we look at the sort of workers supply, you know, neither of them have like smothered themselves in glory. It is gone the 10-minute mark, but it's no longer massively different. In the earlier part of the game, oh sorry, it is, I was looking at the wrong supply thing. It is quite different. Seli is doing a good job there, up towards the 70 worker mark, which is where you want to be, whereas Smarticus, yeah, lagging somewhat behind with the third only going down now. So very hard to support a significant amount of carrier production, assuming that's what he wants to do. So 2 carriers are building right now, but you know, it's going to be slow process with all of this sort of lack of expansions and the lack of minings, the lack of mining that's going on. I want to see Seli busy all the time. You know, I produce your opponent. You know that he didn't have a third as quickly as yours. Your fourth is up and mining. His third still isn't. So you know, the trade that you had before, it didn't seem. Probably Seli feeling a bit gutted that he wasn't able to end the game there or whatever. But you know, it doesn't matter. You can afford to lose those Marines. You can replace those. He can't afford to lose these void rays. If you just keep doing that, you win. You know, so send it in again. The scans. Look, you see this army. You see it parked there. Look at the army supply difference here. It is substantial. That is +3 armor now being researched. The 2-2 is great. There is +2 air. There's +1 armor for the Protoss. So yeah, make sure you've got some scans left in the bank. He actually, yeah, he's got a scan there, and he will have a scan there. Yeah, so. Because otherwise you can't see a lot of this stuff. So you want to make sure your stuff's together. You don't want your medevacs to get ahead of your other units. And you've got to be a little bit careful how you manage this engagement. The mothership is obnoxious with this cloaking field. So scans you need so that you can see this stuff. You can get in there, you can start killing things. Where's the stim? I want to see the stim on these Marines. There we go, focusing down the carriers. The Thors are doing some good work as well. It is quite hard to tell actually who is winning. Thors continuing to do good work at the back. The Stalkers on the ground holding firm. So these Marines actually shooting interceptors there, which is a bit annoying. And the Protoss just bosses it. But as I said, you know, look at the losses here. Protoss, you know, this type of stuff going on. Seli, if you lose this game, that is an absolute travesty. The way Smarticus opened this, it was an absolute disaster from beginning to end. It would be outrageous to lose this game. You know, he can, Seli can just keep pressing in the way that he did, and he will eventually win. I know it doesn't seem like it, but he kind of has to. He can outproduce his opponent. Marines are cheap. They have a short build time. If he waits until the Protoss kind of, you know, all the shields go back up and the carriers get replaced, then it's harder to do. I wouldn't mind seeing a drop in the men, you know, trim off a few workers, a drop in here, a drop in here. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of movement around the map is what I'm saying. Carriers, void rays, you know, this type of composition with carriers and stuff is very, very slow. So, you know, one of the key things you can do is Terran. Terran is fast, man. Medevacs with boost are so quick. So let's have a look at the army supply. Again, Seli has a substantial army advantage, and I'd like to see him just wade in there. I know it can be a bit demoralizing. You go in, you lose some stuff, but the key is to go in and specifically focus on these expensive units. Take a couple of siege tanks with you, so, because previously, you know, the stalkers on the ground were doing great work and nothing was actually shooting them. So take a couple of siege tanks with you and just negate those stalkers, and that would be great. This is a number of Vikings now. This is much more like it. These Vikings, you know, what he needs to be doing is focus firing onto the carriers with the Vikings. It's a pity the mothership has come out, but nothing too disastrous. There's +3 air weapons are being researched for the Protoss. So Seli can maybe get in there before that happens. He does have himself +3 ground attack coming in for the Marines. So is he going to wait for that? I think he's just going to go for it, but you don't want to be really shooting the interceptors, although actually he maybe has got enough Marines now that he can shoot the interceptors and just trim them off. I think he wins this fight. It's hard to be 100% sure, but that is a lot of Vikings. You can see the Vikings now just one-shotting carriers, they're one-shotting void rays. There's nothing left on the mothership. Everything goes down ultimately this time, and as I said, it was just a case of he outproduced him. He was able to replenish his army much more quickly than the Protoss could. So even though those earlier trades, Seli might have been feeling that he left sort of having been beaten by the Protoss, you know, you have to look at the slightly bigger picture. As Terran, you're building Marines. Marines are fast to build and they are cheap to build. Your Protoss counterpart is cranking out void rays and is cranking out carriers that take so much longer and are so much more expensive. So, you know, it's absolutely okay to be trading out your Marine army and going in and losing 50 Marines, as long as you're doing it again shortly after. So presumably we're going to see GG. There's absolutely no way that Smarticus can now produce enough to do anything about this. Does actually have a substantial bank, as does Seli, but you know, he's only got 2 starports and a single gateway, and that is not enough for anything really. The Vikings are going to lift off and will gun down these void rays pretty quickly, and it's just a click for the win. So yeah, I expect a GG, and to be honest, not a very, you know, Seli made me sweat a little bit there, but this is not a surprising result based on what I saw in the first minute and a half of this game. I was quite frankly disgusted. So yeah, it's time to GG, isn't it? When this is what your main base looks like and you're the Protoss player, it is very much time to GG. Yeah, I think Seli just throwing down scans there to check that there aren't sneaky bases somewhere else. It's the F10N moment where, yeah, there we go. No GG, man. Literally no GG. Anyway, all set. GG.